Hello guys, this is Charlie D right here. It is Saturday, March March the 2nd, 2019, and I have, I believe, found the source of, at least two sources of metallic particles, and it's pretty bad. So this is the lower end of the 2.4 liter engine. This is where the balance shaft's attached. This is integral to a portion of the oil pan, so looks like I'm going to have to, this is going to get a lot more expensive really quick. So I'll try to explain what happened. This is on one side. There's like, these are actually little insertable bearings. This side, both sides are pretty much spun, and I don't know if this will show up, but there is definitely marks inside of both of these balancer shafts where it scored it, ruined it, and actually this has got some teeth this stripped off of it. So this is going to get pretty expensive pretty quickly. So if you have one of these cars, you might want to, this higher mileage, you might just want to check these out, because if I would have caught this before it spun those bearings, chances are I probably could have just replaced these shafts themselves and then the bearings, and then not had to fool with replacing the whole lower portion of the oil pump, or sorry, the oil pan, the upper portion of the oil pan. So it's two parts, part of steel, parts aluminum. So man, the light's just not good enough in here to see that. But anyway, that's good right there, and then right in here it's where it was scored up. Just scored up one side of it only, both of these, and I don't know if I can find where that tooth's messed up on this one too, I think. But yeah, it's pretty bad news. And another problem is, it looks like, now this, when I bought it, the guy said it's got a new timing chain on it. Well, this is, I don't really like the idea of using this RTV on this type of gasket, and I'll show you the reason why. This is the timing chain tensioner, and this is controlled by oil pressure. Do you see any hole for the oil to flow? There's a small little, like a bubble right there, but I don't think it was actually putting oil in there. So luckily it never jumped time, but it wasn't keeping proper tension, so the looks like the chain was actually flopping out and hitting right here, and started cutting into the, the cover a little bit. And actually, I'm not going to show it, but on the engine block, it actually, the chain started cutting into it too. So so I feel that to fix this, luckily I've got a timing chain here. The timing chain set I already ordered, because I thought that was messed up, but I was hesitant to replace it because it never jumped time. But at the same time, after seeing the aluminum or the shiny metal, I thought it was aluminum, so I didn't know where it come from. So that's where some of it came from, and the rest of it came in here. I don't know if you can see how nasty that oil is, but that was definitely, I drove it, I don't know if it's been failing for a long time, or if it just failed. I drove this thing from Richmond, Indiana to home. It's when it was really starting to sound really bad, and it's literally like having a spun bearing on a car. It spun the bearings inside of there and scored it up terribly bad. Like I said, the bearings have been removed, but it just scored the crap out of it, and it also scored up the lower part of the oil pan. And like I said, if I had found this before it did that, I could have just gotten by with replacing these pieces here and the bearings, which I might try to show you where those bearings are. And I've also chosen to replace the oil pump, because all that metal is getting pumped with the oil. And I want to show you guys something else too. This is the timing chain for the engine. It actually has a little chain that actually powers up your oil pump. And I don't know if you can see this, but all those teeth are actually they're bent slightly, because I don't know if it had been like that for a long time, or if just you know, like I said, I don't know the maintenance of the car before I bought it, so this is part of the fun of owning a higher mileage car. You just never know what kind of fun things you're going to get. But the car, outside of that, has been relatively reliable up until this point in time. Yeah, that's not really showing up too good. But anyways, all these little teeth are bent over just a little bit, and if that would have gotten any much worse, it would have sheared those teeth completely off. Luckily, that never happened. But one thing I thought was kind of weird. This is the oil pump one. This has got a huge slot right here. Show where the thumb's at. And whenever I took it loose, this thing was able to walk around left, right on that keyway. I don't know why that's designed to do that for. But luckily, like I said, this thing never jumped time, and I don't know. I'm hoping that fuel injector was a part of the problem, but maybe it's several problems accumulating into one big problem, or several issues all at once. So I don't feel bad putting new injectors in it. Shoot, it might run really good after this. But so all new timing components. I'm going to build my own gasket for the timing chain cover, and this is the reason why. Because this hole, there is no hole. Once you put that sealant on there and you bolt it together, you don't know if it's going to do this. So that's what that's why I don't understand why Toyota engineered this cover without a gasket. I would think that you would want a gasket anywhere that you expect oil to come through, because that for this reason. Now I'll tell you what, while you guys are live on here, I want to get a pick tool and see if I can't see if that hole actually goes through, or if it's just a small bubble. So bear with me here. My garage is an absolute mess. I was not ready for this. When is anybody ever ready for the car to completely break down? Okay, so that's pretty much completely plugged up. Yeah, it takes some time, but after I get this thing cleaned off, I'm actually going to bring this probably into the house, because I honestly don't have a place to set this thing down and build a gasket. But yeah, I think that was pretty much completely put. If anything went through it all, it was very minimal amount. And I think I own this long enough where if that shouldn't have been fresh. Yeah, this seems to be full too. This little port here. So, anyways, I don't know why they did that. This is supposed to be. Now it does kind of cam out, but there's supposed to be oil pressure keep tension on this. For different engine speeds, we're going to put different types of tension on that. But yeah, that was really cutting deep in there. I don't know if that's showing up or not. But here's the oil pump. I didn't realize there was a metallic gasket between the block and there, so you might want to. I don't know if a new one's going to come with that, but I'm going to definitely try to clean this up and save it. This is the smaller metallic oil pan that I was talking about. This is the oil pump, oil sump, I guess I should say. And matter of fact, if you look carefully, you can see some little pieces of metal sucked up in there. So this stuff was definitely circulating throughout the car engine, whether I wanted it to or not. So after I do put it back together, the first order of business is going to be to do a couple of flushes. So yeah, I've got a lot of work ahead of me that I was not expecting to do. But yeah, that oil it was so thick. Almost like it had water in it, but it's not. It's pieces of Babbitt and aluminum, and I think that most likely that oil is probably generating heat. So I'm sorry, that oil was getting harder to pump, which probably made it put another extra drag on the engine too. So it should be interesting. I want to very carefully clean this out, and if there's any chunks of stuff hidden in there, I'll try to make a note of it. But Whenever I was first taking this apart, I thought for sure I'd seen a tooth hanging out in this little cover here, but I couldn't find it. I was going to use it for show and tell, but here's one of the bearings. It's very, very thin. Get the stuff out of the way. I'll show you the other bearings. One of them was like paper thin. I couldn't believe how thin it was. Yeah, see, I don't know if you can see that, but this has scoring on the back, which means this whole thing was spinning around. And it's not supposed to do that. The oil is supposed to go through these holes here. And whenever that's spinning around, that actually blocks off the holes. So that's what happened. This is when it's paper thin. I don't know if you can see that. It scored really, really bad. So, if you have a Toyota Camry and it has high mileage and you don't know the history of it, I think I've learned my lesson. One of the first things I want to do is I want to pull that, my wife has got one, I want to pull these lower oil pan gasket, or sorry, the lower oil pan, and inspect that, those things, I think. I need to get a book. I don't have a book on these. I think I found you can get both books for this car. It's not directly from Toyota, but it's like from Toyota. Actually, if you look real carefully, see that? It's a piece of metal that's shredded out of that somehow. So there was all kinds of metal coming off this stuff, and then as I was driving it down the road. Luckily, I made it home. I don't know if it would have made any difference. I would have parked it and stopped driving it, or like I said, I just wanted to get home, and from that point, I just knew that there was something really wrong. So, and I guess my intuition was correct. Did not want to drive it until it stopped, because if I would have done that, it would have completely ruined the car. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know if you can see that bearing was actually spinning around, and there's a little tab that locks it in place, and that was spinning right in there and actually cut a decent sized groove in there. So, alrighty. So hopefully whenever I get this thing back together, it'll run like a champ. So I've ordered gasket material and a handful of other things. If anybody wants to know where I got everything, I'll try to leave links. The biggest question is I don't know whether I should make the gasket for the timing chain cover, if I should make it thick or thin. Thicker, I would think, would be better integrity, but thinner, I'm thinking if something breaks loose, it won't, something pops loose right here on this hole, that it will be okay. If it's a smaller leak compared to the thicker gasket, which would be a little bit bigger of a leak. But dang, Toyota, why didn't you make a real thin? They make this real thin metal gaskets that's got like rubber around it. I don't know why they didn't put one of them there. That would have been perfect, because it would have been able to take the pressure and sealed it. So I don't know what the reasoning was for this, but I think that it was blatantly easily to tell that there was definitely, the chain was coming out and rubbing right in there, rather hardly actually. I guess I could show the engine side of it. Whoopsie. It was rubbing on the front half of the engine, which is kind of weird because that's where it pulls at. My batteries are out on my flashlight, but it was hitting this actual bolt hole right here. It actually holds the tensioner in place, and it was actually hitting in front there. Can't see it with the crap. It actually shrimmed this aluminum. I don't know how to actually clean it up. It's right there, but you can't really see it. Just can't get a slide in there. Anyways, it was hitting right in this whole area. It hit around that bolt there and around this surface here. So, anyways, that's it. I'm going to stop working on it for now. I'm actually going to have to I might have to order those manuals for this thing, so I know how to set these balancer shafts in correctly. And I like to torque things down, so I have my work cut out for me. And additionally, this air conditioning compressor is going to make it moved out, so I have a lot of work to do yet. So still coming apart. I chose to move this engine mount and all this other stuff out of the way, so I have plenty of room to work. So that's it. Tried the video right out.